Hello and welcome to Grandad Stories. Not long ago, not far away, Nana was working in the weird old house at her daily chores. Then the doorbell went, bing bong. So Nana went to answer the door, and there was Amy and her mum. Amy said, "Hello Nana, had a good day?" Nana said, "Yes love." Amy said, "I believe you found my phone." And Nana said, "Yes, I found it upstairs in the bouncy bedroom on the bedside cabinet." And Amy said, "I'm sure I left that on the table in the dining room. I'm positive that's where I left it." And Nana said, "Well, whatever, that's where it is now." So while Nana was talking to Amy's mum, Amy ran upstairs, ran into the bouncy bedroom, dived on the bed, reached across to pick up her phone. And just as her hand reached the phone and she picked it up, the door swung and with a loud click closed. Amy turned to look at the door and was quite surprised, but not too surprised, to see it change colour, go all sparkly and flash through all the colours of the rainbow. For her brother and her cousins had told her these things happen. She didn't really believe it, of course, but seeing is believing, so that's what happened. So when the door settled on a vivid bright orange, Amy got up, went to the door, turned the handle slowly. It felt quite warm. As she opened the door, in front of her was a broad green area with trees and bushes like little ferns. When I say little, some of them were taller than Amy. So she stepped out to run her fingers through the bright green ferns. And then she heard a click. She turned to see the door sparkle again and change through all the colours, turn to smoke and disappear. So Amy stood there, again thinking, well, the kids told me these things happen, now I believe them. Which way shall I go, she thought. And then a sound, almost blood-curdling. She heard the cry of an animal, a very large animal that seemed to be in pain. So Amy thought, I wonder what that is. So she creeped towards the sound as quietly as she could. Then she thought, which way is the wind blowing? I don't want this animal to be able to get my scent on the wind. So she pulled some of the fronds from the ferns and gently tossed them in the air. And they blew back towards her. So the wind was coming towards her face, so she felt a bit safer. So she moved forward as quietly as she could until she came to what she thought might be the last thick fern. She put her hands on it gently and pulled it aside. And to her great surprise, what in front of her made her mouth drop open. For there was the largest thing she had ever seen. A Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now Amy had been to Chester Zoo many times and been in the elephant house where you can get extremely close to very large male elephants. But they were small in comparison to the size of this creature. As she watched it, it tried to get up because it was lying down. Each time it got up, it put one foot on the ground, yelped in pain and fell down again. Now it did this many times until eventually, from its efforts, it was exhausted and it lay there panting. Amy noticed that there was a great crack in the hard skin on the foot of the dinosaur. And in this great crack there was a stick. Now the stick was big to Amy, but to the dinosaur it was probably only a splinter. But she went over quietly as she could, gripped the stick and pulled as hard as she could until it came out in one great whoosh. And then, oh, came a great sound, and the head of the dinosaur swung around to look directly at Amy. Its teeth were as long as a man's arm. It said, "Did you do that?" And Amy said, "Sorry, sorry, sorry," as she slowly backed away. And he went, "Sorry, sorry for what?" "Oh, that feels better. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." So he gradually got up and stood and very tentatively put his foot on the ground and went, "Oh, that's much better." He said, "It's the mud, you see. The mud. The mud gets all over your feet, dry as hard as stone, and then sucks all the moisture out of your skin and your skin cracks. Happens all the time." And Amy said, "Is there a river around here? Or a lake?" And he said, "Yes, down in the valley. What do you want the river for? Are you thirsty?" And she went, "No. Why don't you wash the mud off your feet?" He went, "Wash? Wash? I don't understand. What's wash?" And she went, "If you don't mind, come with me. Show me the way." So the dinosaur got to its feet properly, hecked itself a few times and began to move. It was moving as slowly as it could, but Amy had to run to keep up with him because his great big legs were striding ahead. But at least he was beating away through the ferns. So they followed on down the hill for quite some distance, and then they came to the edge of a river with a nice sandy beach. So Amy said, "Stand in the water." And he went, "Stand in the water? Why?" She went, "Stand in the water." So he stood in the water, and she said, "Now, move your feet around." And as he moved his feet in the water, the mud all washed off. And Amy said, "Does that feel better?" He went, "Oh, that's very clever. Wash, you say? I must do this more often." She said, "You should do this at least once a day. And not only your feet. Your arms may be small, but they aren't half ripe." So they went up the hill, and he said, "I must go tell my friend. Do you want to come and meet him?" And Amy said, "Is he dangerous?" And he said, "No, dangerous. Come with me." So he reached down with two little arms and picked Amy up and carried her. And they went back up the hill, over the brow and down into the next valley. When they got there, she could see a little cave. So they went forward, and then the dinosaur shouted, "Oi, Bernie! Bernie, are you in there?" So Bernie came out, and Amy looked, and Bernie was nothing else but a velociraptor. Now Amy had always heard that velociraptors were extremely dangerous. He had great claws like hooked swords. And as they moved down towards him, Bernie said, "How's it going, Bob?" And Bob went, "Fine. I'll tell you, you know what we've come up with?" And he went, "What's that?" He went, "A way of getting rid of mud off your feet. This little creature here has told me it's called washing." So Bernie said, "Washing? What's that?" So Bob explained about the river and how the water removed the mud. And he said, "Oh, very good." And Bernie said, "I've been making things as well." So he went into his cave and came out with a great flat piece of broad wood. And Bob said, "What's that?" He went, "I don't really know." And Amy said, "Do you mind if I help?" And they went, "Okay." So she was put down gently, and she went over to Bernie and said, "Could you put a hole there, and another hole there, and another hole there?" So he said, "Yes." So he started to drill with his very sharp claws. And Amy went and found a vine that was growing on the edge of a great big tree and pulled until it fell down. And then Bob came over and broke it off for her. So she brought the vine over and put it through one of the holes and tied a knot in it and said, "This should work." And she said to Bernie, "Excuse me, could you make another one of these?" And he said, "Yes, I think I've got one half made inside." So he went in, and a few minutes later, after much banging and bashing, he came out with another great board. So Amy said, "Can you put holes in this, the same as in the other one?" And he went, "Yes." So he started to drill holes, and Amy went on tying the vine. And when she'd finished all her tying, she said to Bob, "Excuse me, can you come here?" And he went, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Can you put a foot on that and a foot on that?" So he went, "Yeah, okay." So he stood on the great big pieces of wood, and she took the vines and tied them round his toes, all three of them. And he said, "What are you doing?" And she went, "Now walk around." So he walked around, and what do you know? Dinosaur flip-flops. That's what he came up with. So they went, "This is brilliant. No more mud, no more cracked feet. Can I make loads of these and make a fortune?" And they went, "Yay!" And then, right beside the cave, a column of smoke appeared. And it gradually got thicker and flashed all the colours of the rainbow. And then it turned into a bright orange door. And Amy said, "I think it's time for me to go." So she walked over, opened the door, and on the other side of the door there was a bedroom with a bouncy bed. And Amy thought, "Wait now." So she took her phone out of her pocket, ran back and went, "Selfie time!" Click, and ran through, because she knew the kids would never believe this one. So then she went downstairs, and Nana said, "Oh, that didn't take you long. You found it then?" And she went, "Yes, Nana, what do you think of this picture?" And Nana went, "Isn't it marvellous what you can do with them things? That looks like you with two dinosaurs. And look, one of them's wearing flip-flops. Ha ha, that's funny." Now that is the end of today's story. We hope to see you again in the future. Good night. Sleep tight.